tonight I'm gonna share a little bit about the new Creation Care plan that the Mission Table of Lutherans Restoring Creation put together here in the Central State Synod. And then we'll also talk about a national event that is coming together through Blessed Tomorrow. And these are both things, James, that might be of interest to you. And Bob, you're kind of familiar with these things because you've been involved before. And then any other information or things that you want to share that would be of help to others. I have a couple questions I want to ask you guys tonight too. But first, I'm going to go ahead with the Creation Care Plan. What we have done is put together this plan by month of the year. And for each month, we offer resources on worship, education, buildings and grounds, advocacy and public witness, and personal discipleship. So across the Synod, people give us ideas, and the Mission Table people have put together things. So every month there are ideas that might spark some conversation, action, activity in your places of worship. So in December this past year, we have really been focusing on peace and how do we bring peace not only for the human family but also for the environment. And we shared some information about the environmental effects of war and how that has devastated landscapes as well as populations. And so we continue that. We had some special things, prayers for Advent, and some things that we offered to the Synod, and then those continue now in January. Um, some ideas about how do we share and educate when people differ about climate change and other issues. So there's some things using a TED Talk that Katharine Hayhoe, who's a climate scientist, she has given. And then Lutherans Restoring Creation has a gathering, um, a guide to gathering that gives a lot of information as well. A really good place to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions is through our buildings and grounds, getting an energy audit. Both IPL, Interfaith Power and Light, and Energy Star from the government provide guides for how to do that. So we put a link in there for the Energy Star for congregations. I think we've got the Cool Congregations comes along later in the year. And then this is a really good time to think about advocacy and how do we change systems that are unjust and systems that marginalize people who have the least contribution to the problems of greenhouse gas emissions. So our state legislatures just began this week, and I was on a couple calls today for Kansas Interfaith Action, and it doesn't look like it's going to be a great year for environmental issues. The new administration is not as open to some of the solutions that come from renewable energy and um, how to mitigate and the effects of climate change. So it will be an interesting year to see how we do that. One of the questions I wanted to ask tonight of those who are gathered um, is advocacy something that your congregations pursue, or is that something that is harder for people to talk about and take action? I'm just kind of curious to see how that goes in different areas of, I know my congregation, I'm at Overland Park Lutheran. It's just people are on very different sides of issues. So sometimes we tend to shy away from difficult things. So I didn't know if you all had any thoughts about advocacy in your own settings.
Um, yeah, we probably have the same situation where, it's not everyone's on one side. There's, certainly two sides. And I mean, when things come up, either through, with trying to Be Green or just any other types of things within the legislature. I mean, we have an adult forum on Sundays that my wife Dee helps lead. And one of the things we had was kind of a session on the kind of the tough questions, tough things to handle. And so, when things come up like that, that we know that there's something that, we don't promote it or force it. We just, alert people or let them know that
Yeah.
this is, and if they want to, write to their congressperson, then,
Mhm.
so be it. We provide, the information to them and let them decide what they want to do.
That's good. I mean, I think I know the ELCA has put out recently information about civic life and faith and how our lives intersect. We, as people of faith, we are also to have a voice in the public realm, and um, I think it's good to keep raising those issues and allowing people to be in different places on that. Unfortunately, so much of this has become politicized when um, I kind of tend to think of it just as a scientific fact, and it's not a political issue, but unfortunately, it's become so politicized. What about James? What about where you live? How do these things resonate?
Yeah, well, being in this part of Wisconsin, this is very much a purple,
Yeah.
extremely purple. I mean, it's a purple state, and we're a purple region and a purple state.
Uh-huh.
Um, I will say that after the pandemic, and I'm sure all the congregations experienced this, but um, based on our church's response to the pandemic, we lost a lot more of our further right-leaning congregants. They just left.
Oh,
Masks were too much for them,
okay.
and that was it, right? That was the
Uh-huh.
final straw. My wife is the pastor, actually, and
Oh, okay.
as a climate scientist, I can get away with doing adult forums and stuff and talking about the science and the responses and whatnot. But I think a lot of times there's for folks that are not motivated by climate change, we'll just say euphemistically.
Mhm.
There's just kind of this sense of, well, that's him. We're kind of stuck with him. He's the pastor's husband, right? And they tolerate it, right? Which I suppose is better than getting angry and up and leaving. But they don't show up, right?
Yeah.
So there's a
Yeah.
self-selection process, very
Right.
strongly a self-selection process for who gets involved and who listens. And so when the green team holds coffee hour or whatever, and we want to talk about, our trifolds that are on the table about, whatever it is that we're talking
Uh-huh.
about, there are
Uh-huh.
people who just won't engage.
Yeah.
Um, so, but no open conflict, I suppose, which is nice. My pastor wife likes that. um, I will say that, advocacy is an interesting word, and kind of like what you were saying, Noni. I mean, it's one thing to be an advocate against hunger, right? We can all agree that, oh, we should, but the minute that steps into the policy realm, then that's the third rail. And
Right.
all of climate change has become politicized, which, as you say, is laughable, because
Mhm.
it's the least political thing.
Mhm.
But our responses to climate change are political, right? That's in the policy realm. So
Right.
um, I can get away with certain things because, as I say, I'm the pastor's husband, but I also get sort of a lot of benign neglect, right? Um, Sort of pat on the head. Thanks for doing that.
Would you ever be interested in doing just a brief presentation here for our collaboration? I think it's always
Sure.
good to hear. Oh, we would love that. Don't you think, Bob, that would be a
Yeah,
great
yeah,
thing?
yeah.
Yeah. James, do I have your email?
You must, because that's how I
That's how
get
you
the
got it?
notifications of these meetings.
Okay.
So
I send
I'm on the
things out.
list.
I send, I send so many things out. Sometimes I don't know who I'm
Yeah,
sending,
yeah, yeah.
but I'm
And
so
and likewise, I get so many messages. I was sure I'd been to this before, but I suppose I hadn't because there's so many, right? There's so many important groups to participate
well,
in. So
and
I'm glad to be here.
and it's I really appreciate this group. We've gotten voices from across the ELCA, which it doesn't always happen. Synods kind of do their own thing. So this is really good. I will connect with you to get to have you present at another meeting. I think that would be really helpful. And
Well,
the other thing is since we record these, people can use them like in an adult forum or for a meeting or something like that. So it'd be great to have that, and we would appreciate your input. So I will connect with you about that. So
Okay, sure. Yeah, whatever helps.
yeah.
Um,
The other thing I find about advocacy is that it I was on another call today with others, and I think too to Bob, and this speaks, Bob, to what you were talking about, is giving people options for how they can self-select to be involved. If they want to call a congressperson, that's not for everybody, you know, but I think to keep raising it so that people think about it. And I know that there are a lot of issues right now that, oh, our state legislature is just so red. It's so red. And I think the same is true in Missouri right now. So it's going to be hard to see some of the things that happen, but
Yeah,
we'll just keep working. Yeah.
Missouri's kind of interesting. It's a red state, but it's kind of blue on the, Kansas City side and
The
the
edges.
St. Louis side,
Mhm.
especially in the cities, I'm sure. I don't know
Mhm.
much about Kansas City, but I know it's pretty blue in St. Louis City. But then you have all the in-between stuff that's
Mhm. Mhm.
conservative and red.
Yeah.
We did the Interfaith Power and Light movie, I think a year late. Last Earth Week, it was Common Ground, the one on
Yeah.
renewable agriculture. Great.
Yeah.
And we actually did hand out postcards, asking people to contact their member of Congress,
Yeah.
in the context of the Farm Bill going up
Uh-huh.
for reauthorization and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But that's as far as we get. I think in many ways, the advocacy that we do is the green team sort of reaching out to the congregation to try and bring them along, right? That feels like the extent of our advocacy.
Well, if that's where you are, that's a good place to start, and at least you're willing to do that. So I think that's really good. I the more I learn about all of these issues, the more I think we just have to keep meeting people where they are and helping them to kind of catch the fever, the green fever, that this is something. And I'm wondering too if things like these wildfires in California will make people stop and think a little bit more. I don't know. Again, that's being politicized as well. And now they're threatening to withhold aid, which just saddens me. Oh, it just hurts my heart. So we'll have to see. But and one of the things that Catherine Hayhoe talks about is how do we find common ground? So if we're worried about the world that we leave for our children or our grandchildren, we can agree that we love our grandchildren. And even if we don't agree exactly on what's causing it, how do we create um, a cleaner air and better soil and a world that lasts for the people that we love? And so it's gonna be interesting moving forward. Um, there are some advocacy days in Kansas. Now, Bob, I need to do some more research for Missouri. I know Sierra Club does some things, and Cindy Gross from your area has attended some of those things. So we'll have to see. Those are great too because it gets you connected with other people in that setting. And Bob, have you ever gone to any kind of advocacy days at your state capital?
I have not.
Okay, okay. The other problem is they're often during the week, and so people have to take off work, and that's problematic sometimes. James, do you have advocacy days set up for anything in your Wisconsin?
Yeah, we have Wisconsin Conservation Voters, which is a sort of a spinoff of League of Conservation Voters. It's
Okay,
the Wisconsin State organization from League of LCV.
okay,
And they organize in Madison,
okay.
a big bus trip from all over the state to lobby days in Madison every year.
Well, that's
I
cool.
participated in that once. As a
Mhm.
CCL member, I went to DC on a regular basis to
Wow,
lobby, but that yeah, not
that's
but if you have a League of Conservation Voters chapter in your state, and I imagine you do, I wonder if they offer something like that.
I should look into that too. Leave of conservation. Where do you teach?
University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire.
Oh, cool. Oh, wonderful. Excellent. Okay. Um, then on personal discipleship, there is it's a blessing that Cheryl Merhoff from our mission table put together that might, it's just it's kind of a gentle reminder, and it's people like me who can get angry about these things. It's good to have a way to bring peace to my spirit. Um, then also Creation Justice Ministries has bulletin inserts for each Sunday of the year. So if that's something that's interesting, you don't have to use them all, but there might be some things that might be interesting. And then coming up in February for next month, um, this is taken a little bit from Native American spirituality. The morning prayer 4 directions can even be used for a devotion in a meeting or something like that. There's some theological education through the 10 Reasons Why Lutherans Care for All Creation. If that might be a helpful way for people to think about, well, why are we doing this? Why do we care about the earth? And how does that grow out of our Lutheran theology? Um, there's this wonderful video about this congregation that put solar panels on their roof up in was in Iowa, and they have also, if I would love to get solar panels on our roof at our church. We're not quite there yet, but this congregation offers great insights and also has offered to help others if you're interested.
Yeah.
Um,
Noni,
yes.
this may be a silly question about solar panels. I don't know if either of you would know, but when it snows a lot and your roof's covered at home, if you have solar panels, uh, how does that work, or do they?
Well, that's a good question. James, do you know?
It depends on what the angle of the panels are.
Okay.
There enough sunlight does get through, and the solar panels are black underneath, so they tend to heat up pretty quickly, much faster than the roof, and so they tend to melt and
No.
shed the snow.
Okay.
Of course, if it's really heavy snow, it's going to shut them down for a couple days, but
Right.
they do tend to, once the sun comes out again, they tend to melt at the surface.
Okay.
We're getting solar on our roof at home, and interesting thing that I was told was make sure you get panels that are completely black, because if they have the borders that are silver,
Yeah.
they can tend to not leave ice on the edge, and they won't shed snow as easily. And I thought that was a really interesting tip.
Oh,
Um,
that's really good to know in Wisconsin. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
So we're getting panels
interesting.
that are completely black for that reason.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
with all this snow we just got recently, I just happened to look up at our roof and it was covered with snow. And I'm thinking, if we had solar panels, how would that work? But I have to get up there and shovel it off, or
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't want to do that. But
Yeah. Good question. Yeah. I mean, these are the kinds of things we didn't think about before, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, it depends on the angle of your roof, right? So we have quite a steep roof, 45 degrees, and I imagine they're gonna shed snow really, really well, which is great because it's a tall roof and I'm not going up there.
No, no.
In the snow. And so if you had a really shallow roof, and you could either, change the angle of there's an optimum angle depending on your latitude.
Right.
Um, and we're gonna be
Right.
too steep for our latitude, but it's not gonna hurt us too badly.
Okay. Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool.
thanks.
Yeah. And then more about Kansas Interfaith Action. We have an advocacy day called Wealth Day that's coming up in February for Kansas congregations. And then personal discipleship. There's some interesting information about plant-based diets. Not that people have to totally not eat meat at all, but how plant-based diets can contribute to less greenhouse gas emissions, and just how it makes us feel. And as Americans, our diets tend to be really, really meat heavy. And so it's fine to eat meat. It's just that we don't need to eat it at all the meals, and we don't need to eat as much as we eat. But I also know that this is a very tender subject with farmers and ranchers because that's their livelihood. So how we talk about that can be very helpful as well. Um,
Can I ask you to back up? What can you tell me about this Wealth Day? It's really interesting. Water, energy, air, land, transportation, and health. That's a really interesting set um of topics. How did this? Can you tell me anything about how this came about? It's really sounds like a neat opportunity.
It is. Hi, Lisa. Um, it's sponsored through the Climate and Energy Project, Sierra Club, and the Kansas Interfaith Action. And what they've done is they have different education sections throughout the day. They start with a vigil, a prayer vigil, and then they have different educational things. Oh, like it's one year we heard from the person who is the head of the Kansas Farm Bureau, talking about, I think it was about water issues because we're the Ogallala Aquifer feeds the western part of Kansas. So they have different speakers that share things, and then we are able to, they set up times that we can meet with our legislators. So it's a little bit different every year, but these are the kind of these are the topics that they try to cover. Um, some more than others in different years. And it's really interesting because you meet a lot of different people. It's not only faith-based people, so it's a real mix rather than like Kansas Interfaith Action, that's mostly faith-based people. But I've met some really fascinating people and heard some really good speakers at these things. And it's at the State House. It's there's a lunch together, so you get a lot of time to really talk to people and get to know things. So it's kind of an education and an advocacy day.
Oh,
Right
neat.
now, there's not any new information about 2025. They're still getting it put together, but if you Google um, Wealth Day 2024 Climate and Energy Project, you can kind of see the schedule of what they've done in the past. But it's really good. Climate and Energy Project does some really good programming, and we're really lucky to have them in our state.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
Thanks.
really good. Yeah. And it's a good way for people to learn about how the legislative process works. So you don't have to, you're with a lot of other people, there's a lot of education, you get to meet some of the Congress people. So it kind of demystifies some of that whole process and gets you in the atmosphere of the Capitol. And I just I haven't been to a lot of the Capitol buildings in different states, but I've been to some of them, and it's a very impressive structure. I went to the one in Iowa too, and it's just a very beautiful building, and you just feel like important things are happening there. So it gets people into that space, which I think is really important.
Well,
And there's nothing like the feeling of being a participant, not a spectator. And
Yes.
that's one of the most empowering feelings I think anyone can experience. And if we ever wanted people to believe in government,
Yeah.
this is the way to do it, is to
Yeah.
get them involved in it. It's an amazing thing. I
Yes.
love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Last year, I can't remember if it was Wealth Day or it might have been Kifa Advocacy Day, but I was going upstairs after lunch to go meet with my senator, and coming down the stairs was the governor, who I just adore. I just think
Uh-huh.
she's wonderful. And she stopped. I kind of went, "Oh, it's Laura Kelly." And she stopped and she introduced herself. She asked me who I was, why I was there, what district I was in, what I cared about. It was
Wow.
phenomenal. Now,
Yeah.
I did take a selfie with her too.
Yeah.
So that was
Oh
pretty
yeah.
cool too. But you do it feels like, oh, these are people that, we just need to talk to each other, and they're not out of the reach of all of us. So it was pretty cool. Um, so those are some of the things that are coming up in December and January. I mean, January and February, and then just looking ahead to March, just to be thinking about Lent. There are a lot of opportunities to be doing things during Lent. Um, this year we have a wonderful calendar that was put together, kind of a daily devotion calendar by one of the members of a congregation in Kansas City, Missouri. She's also a professor, and she put together this calendar. So it's a little more personal, which makes it really fun. So there's a lot of ideas. So if you all want to think about that. One thing I will share with you, Bob, since you live here, and of course, James, you're welcome, is we're having a retreat at Hollis Renewal Center in the Kansas City area. And Bob, you and Dee were there last year. We're going to have another one this year. No, it was 2 years ago in 23. And this year it's called Honoring Earth, Honoring Self. And it really deals with climate grief and eco-anxiety and all the feelings that come when we talk about all these issues. And I this week has been, that the fires just are constantly on my mind. And so it will be good to gather together and how do we cope with this? How do we support one another? How do we support those who are most affected by it? So there's overnight lodging for those who are interested. And the registration link is, let me see if it's on here yet. Oh, I don't think it's in here yet. We didn't have the link yet when we put this together. Yeah, it is. It's in here. It's in here. The registration link is live. So on our webpage. So everybody's invited, I guess, until we run out of space. But how often does that happen? So anyway, those are things to be looking ahead, throughout the year, if those resources can help. Any other questions about the plan? Or if you have idea, yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Where is this located, Tony?
It's at Hollis. It's the same place where it was last year in Kansas City, Kansas.
No. I'm sorry. This
Oh.
document.
The document. Okay, let me show you. If you go to, let's see here. Let me find it.
You sent a link in your email about tonight, right?
Okay,
Oh.
yeah, it's in the
Oh,
email
okay.
for tonight. And also, if you just go to,
Oh, you did. I'm sorry.
yeah, that's okay. Here's
just
the
looked at
whole,
the
this
page.
is our Square site. There's a link off of the the Central State Synod website, but this is our little, we have our own little sub website so that we can play around with it a little bit more. So, so there's the plan, and then there's the retreat information. Here's our collaboration if you ever want to go back and see the recordings. So those things are available. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Great. I'll take a look at that.
Okay. And we had Lisa Province from Overland Park Lutheran joined us as well. Lisa, glad you're here. James is from Wisconsin, and I think you've met Bob before. Okay, another thing I want to share with you tonight is about the Blessed Tomorrow National Faith and Climate Forum. What this is Blessed Tomorrow is connected with Eco America and One Home, One Future. It's a interfaith. The Blessed Tomorrow is the faith part of Eco America, and it's interfaith. And last year they hosted this forum with different speakers, and it was all virtual. You could either watch it at home by yourself, or you could gather with people in different locations, and they had different host sites. And Bob, did your congregation host it last year?
We did.
Yeah. Are you going to be able to do that again this year?
We're trying to see if there's enough interest. So
Okay. Yeah. I was a little the speakers were good. The there just wasn't a lot of time for conversation and stuff. So I'm hoping that maybe the format will be a little bit different this year. So we'll kind of see. I think we're going to be having I think Columbia, Missouri is going to have a host site. We're trying to find a place here in Kansas City. And then there's a congregation in Manhattan, Kansas. So we kind of have them spread out across our synod. But if you are interested, this is the link, and I think I put that in the email as well.
Yeah, I think,
And
I think
yeah,
Cindy sent it to us.
okay, good. And then if you're interested in being, let's see, it seems like there's the host information. If you want to host a congregation, the best thing about hosting is that we got to meet different people from different churches, and that was kind of fun. But we just didn't have enough time to really talk. There were a lot of good speakers, almost too many. But anyway, so there are different ways. Oh, here it is. Here's the host thing. And that there are some funds that come out of that. So if you are hosting, you get some money to offset what you pay for food and that kind of a thing.
Well, you have to have so many people, and that's what we didn't have.
Oh, you didn't?
No, we didn't.
Oh,
We
did you
didn't.
not get, then you didn't get the money?
No, because we didn't have.
Was it 15 or something like that?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think we had maybe 7 or 8, or
Okay.
or 8 or
Okay.
9. But yeah, we were short of what we would need for funding.
Okay.
So
Okay. Well, and the other thing again is it's during the week, and so it's difficult for people who work. They have to take off work. Um, my problem this year, I'm going to be a true confession. It's opening day of the Royals home season. So I will I will go to the morning, but I will be at the Royals opening day. So sorry about that. But anyway, that James, that might be something you're interested in too. You can look into it and see. You teach, you don't just like, oh, I'm not going to teach today. So but anyway, that's another national thing that's coming up. How do I get rid of my little hand there?
Seems like a really, really neat opportunity, but why would they hold it on a weekday?
I don't know. I don't know.
good question.
Because it is, I mean, you get us retired folks, but then you don't have the opportunity to get so many people who can't be there.
Yeah, I would be totally willing to help host this thing, but
Yeah, you have to
I'm
teach.
not gonna go. There's no way.
I know. And I think that was one of the suggestions we had last year is, whoops, I lost my thing here, is we suggested that they hold it, I'm going to stop sharing, that they hold it on a weekend when people can actually be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This One Home, One Future is a fairly new group. So they're finding their way, but
Blessed Tomorrow has been around forever.
has it? Okay. Yeah, but
Yeah.
this National Faith and Climate Forum, I think that was the first year they'd offered that.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
were some really good speakers. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. There were some really good speakers.
Blessed
Um,
Tomorrow is a really well-established group. I'm kind of
well, and
surprised.
they've got a lot of different members and that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. But maybe just drop them a line and say, "Oh, this looks so good, but I have to work."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
take it to my green team and see if they want to jump on it. I mean, I'm the chair, but most of the folks in the team are retired, so who knows? Maybe someone
well,
wants to
that's
take it.
true. That's good. Yeah. So we can always swell the crowd. So the other thing, maybe your students would want to be a part of it. You could do it as part of a class or something. I don't know. That's difficult to do too, because
State school, I can't do that.
oh, that's right. It's because it's faith oriented. That wouldn't be so good. Oh, so those are some of the things that are coming up. Um, just want to kind of touch base too with all of you about how we can be of help. What are some topics that we need to cover this year that would be helpful? Thoughts and ideas. We'll get James scheduled to help 1 month. Other ideas.
Well, I think that the document that you were just showing, as far as the monthly activities and things to do, I mean, I think that's going to be a big benefit to us to kind of
Good.
plan things that we're going to do. Because I mean, we're concentrating mostly, like James was saying about advocacy to his congregation. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing also. We're kind of trying to teach and relay information to them to kind of get everyone on board with that. And then hopefully, move towards bigger things.
And I think, just to continue and not give up. I know, like in our congregation, Lisa for years has been doing things for years. And we just joined a couple years ago because we moved to Kansas City. And so we joined her Happy Throng, and then we got some other newer members. So now we actually have a team, and we are doing it jointly with another congregation that is sharing our building. So, Lisa, you have been faithful for years and years. So I think that we just can't give up, and that it catches different people at different times, and the interest, and it's good to have people like Lisa that are just your foundation that keep things going. Yeah.
Just start little with the things that you can do
Hmm. Yeah.
and just keep
Yeah. Yeah. And what the interest of the congregation is. Like we had last year, they had done, oh, several years ago, I guess they had done a camp out at, well, it was at Hollis. And then they just didn't have anybody else. Nobody was really stepping up to organize it. So we thought, well, that's right down our bailiwick. So we organized, we had what, 15, 20 people at the camp out. And it was just a fun time to share. Pastor shared a little worship, and it was delightful. So we kind of listened to what the people are wanting. We also kind of nudge them to try some new things and maybe stretch themselves. Lisa does a spring cleanup, a stream cleanup that tied right into we did an Earth Hour observance in March. So it just kind of, it just grows gradually, and we don't have to do everything all at once. That's the thing I like about the calendar too. You can kind of self-select what's going to work in your setting. Yeah.
So when you went
That's so
camping,
true. That's such good advice. Um, my congregation, I mean, I'm a climate person, so I would be all about solar panels and energy retrofits and all that sort of geeky building stuff. That would be kind of where I would be. But my congregation's like, hey, there's this great book. I don't know if you know Douglas Tallamy, um, Nature's Best Hope,
Mhm.
saving
Yes.
the world in your backyard.
Yes. Lisa shared
Yeah.
that with me. Yeah.
Yeah. So we did a whole study of it, and now we're bringing it back. And so that's where they are, right? They're about, nature-based solutions. And I'm like, okay, let's go there, right?
Right.
1 yard at a time.
That's
1 yard
right.
at a time.
Right.
It's very apolitical, right? So people like that. There's nothing except for the fact that you're not mowing your lawn so much, and your neighbors, maybe whatever. I don't care.
who
No, I think that's great. That's great.
who is it
And
written by? I'm sorry. No,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Douglas Tallamy, Tallamy, I think. Yeah.
I'm sure
Um,
I'm sure I could find it somehow.
Nature's Best Hope. And there's actually two versions. There's a kid's version that actually most members of the congregation preferred, and then there's the adult version, which most members of the congregation didn't choose.
Oh,
That's
really?
much more detailed. Oddly, the adult version has the pictures and the kids version doesn't. I don't understand why. But yeah, it's great. We did a study of it, and people really enjoyed it. We gave out a lot of seeds, native seeds.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, we have.
I just heard about another book today. I haven't read it, but it's So We and Our Children May Live. It's out of the Mennonite Church. And again, I think it's those kinds of common ground kinds of things that can help bring people along. I know that Larry Rasmussen, he's a retired Lutheran. He's done one. It's called, The Planet You Inherit. It's letters to his grandchildren. And I think I listed it, it's in one of the months, but that one's a very readable, it's very warm, it's stories, it's a way to connect people. And I think if we can connect them not only in their heads, but in their hearts, sometimes that really sparks a little bit more, oh, we need to do that. Oh, I heard about a TED Talk today too. I'll send you this link. I can send you some of these things. Um, his name was, I've been on several Zoom calls today, so I've just got all kinds of notes. This one was his name is Nick Consumbus, and TED Talk is on the secret relationship between plants and people. And he talks about you start with an experience which moves us to excitement, which moves us to empathy, and then to effort. So I haven't read it, but it sounded I haven't listened to it, but it sounded very interesting. So
Can you repeat that title, Noni?
yes, it's called The Secret Relationship Between Plants and People. And it's Nick, and his last name is Cutsumppas, and it's a TED Talk.
Thank you.
Yeah. Other thoughts, ideas, things that have worked.
This isn't an idea, but I just want to back up what Bill said. I think this resource is amazing, and I'm really looking forward to bringing it to my Creation Care team. And
Good.
I think they're going to really like it. So thank you for that.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Hi, Susan. How are you?
Good.
Good to see
Sorry.
you. That's okay. What we've done, we've started looking at the Creation Care Plan, kind of took a little note at that. We talked a little bit about the National Faith and Climate Forum through Blessed Tomorrow. And James is from Wisconsin. I think you've met Bob from St. Louis and Lisa from Overland Park. Susan is from not New England, Massachusetts.
No, Baltimore, Maryland.
It's an M word. I always go to Massachusetts rather than Maryland. So
I know.
sorry about
Midwest is a blur to me too.
Good. At least we can acknowledge these things. So glad that you're here. And we've just been sharing some resource ideas, and I'll try to put some of those in the links. I'll send you a list of links tomorrow for some of these things if I've gotten them all jotted down. And then it'll also be on that website. So when Tim in our Synod office, he helps take the recording and gets it ready for us and posts it for us. So, okay. Other thoughts, ideas? What's going on in Maryland?
I got caught up and I'm so sorry. in another training, a training on Indigenous. Have we talked a lot about this? Indigenous, I know, land acknowledgements, but
Yeah.
really reaching out to the Indigenous peoples who are still inhabiting the land. It was a creation justice seminar, and the guy from the ELCA, Vance Blackbox,
Yeah.
was one of the presenters, and it was finished before I was supposed to be here. It's just I got
It's
off
okay.
on the,
Oh,
the
I missed that. I bet they'll have a recording, won't they?
yes, they
So
will.
I first
Yeah,
met
so-
Vance. He was at the Oaks Indian Mission in Oklahoma years ago, and we did a service trip down there. That's where I first met him. He is just delightful. Yeah.
Yes. I had actually met him in person over in COP26
Okay.
back in 21.
Uh-huh.
And he had just successfully gotten the doctrine of discovery, at that church-wide assembly denunciation of the doctrine of discovery.
Okay.
So that was a pretty big accomplishment, I would say.
I
And
would say.
it's high on that. Yeah.
So can you, I mean, I know it was a webinar, but kind of some highlights that would be helpful for us as we move forward?
Well, just trying to reach out. Maybe you already know what peoples are still on the land or used to be on the land your churches or synod offices are on. Reaching out to them after you have read what they suggested to us was do some reading first, get a little background, and then you won't be asking the people who are so wounded. won't make them go back through their own wounds. So like one guy in our synod was also on the call, on the webinar, and he said that there is a tribe of the Nanticoke people in his town. So he's, you know, he's gonna look them up, and he's on our creation care team. So I'm hoping he's gonna bring that information back to us. So
Very cool.
and then if we reach out to an indigenous community and receive a little bit of pushback, the guidance is to let it go. Maybe ask questions if you can, you know, research a little bit into their feelings. But there's so much other receptive. It's kind of like, you know, dust off the feet, or whatever that
Mhm.
Bible verse is.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
leave the town. So that's a good takeaway. You know, you're probably not going to change people's minds who have frankly been very hurt by
Yeah.
church's action.
Well, and it's not their responsibility to take care of us. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that, like you said, go in with some knowledge and some reading.
Humility,
So
yeah.
you don't just go in there and say, oh, teach me. So, yeah.
Can I ask a
Yeah,
question?
go
Is
ahead.
it,
Go ahead.
do you think do most of your synods have land acknowledgements that have been voted on by the synod as an official synod land acknowledgement? I'm just curious.
I don't know if ours has been voted on, but we have one. I mean, they use it all the time at any synod event.
Okay.
There is, you know, that's something we should add. Well, we can't add this because we are all from different places, but that's it's really important. Yeah.
ELCA churchwide probably has a land acknowledgement. I mean, it wouldn't be specific to any one people, right? But
But
I would
think you
imagine
could do a
churchwide has
general
one.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
think you do for the actual office that they are in, you know.
Okay. Each one. Okay.
Well, I mean, church-wide. Don't they have an office in Chicago?
In Chicago. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. That's an area that I want to learn more about. Have any of you seen what's it called? It's the New Testament, what's it called? Is it the first person's? No, what's it called?
Oh, Two-Spirit? No?
No, it's a translation of the
Oh.
New Testament through the eyes of Native
Indigenous people.
Americans. And I can't remember. I don't have a copy of it. I know we've used it at church, but it's
So
very,
Vance talked about a website, it's Truth and Healing. I suppose it's, well, now I don't remember.
this is ELCA, right?
LCA.
Yeah, it's a page. I can find it. I know what you're
ELC
talking about.
But the main terminology is indigenous people, and you know,
That's
also
the correct.
yeah, that's an abbreviation because I believe the Pacific Islanders are also, you know, a large enough group, but I believe indigenous is maybe a broader term that everybody can relate to. And when things are abbreviated, that's what is used. So it's ELCA/indigenous.
Okay. See, that's helpful too. Language is very important. Language is very important. There is a book called On Indigenuity by Daniel Wildcat. It's very good. He teaches at Haskell Indian Nations University, which is in Lawrence, which is just like a half an hour from where I live. So we are wanting to do something for Earth Day that uses indigenous worship, but want to do it with leadership from the indigenous community rather than we're trying to fake it. So I'm hoping we can connect with him or others that he suggests and do something like that. So I will look into that it's Creation Justice Ministries. Is that who it was through?
That is who sponsored the
Okay,
seminar.
okay. I'm sure they'll have it on their website at some point.
It was called Truth, Healing, and Repair. Was the
Truth,
name.
Healing, and Repair. Okay. Okay. I'm also reading a book called, it's a novel. It's not necessarily environmental, but it's There by Tommy Orange. And it's indigenous people and kind of portraits of the life of these indigenous people in Oakland, California. It's really it's hard to read because it's so real, but it's also very interesting and very well written. So
Hmm.
if I don't know, I'm kind of into this indigenous thing right now. So yeah,
Hmm.
my son gave it to me for Christmas. So
Oh, he knew you. How nice.
That book, Braiding Sweetgrass, have you read that?
oh yes, one of my favorite books of all time, Robin Wall Kimmerer. I also got her next one, Serviceberry. I got that for Christmas too. The Serviceberry. So I have to read that one. It's next on my list. Yeah, Braiding Sweetgrass is really quite exceptional.
And they
Now,
have a
James, have you read that as an environmentalist? Have you read that?
I'm embarrassed to say I haven't read it yet. I own a copy, but I haven't read it yet.
Okay.
It's on the top of my list, but you know how those lists go.
So many things to read. So many things to read.
But I don't think I've ever had a book recommended so many times by so many different people, ever.
Really? See,
Yeah.
it's one I would read again, and I don't usually read books over again. I would definitely read that one again. I will probably. So many good books in this world. Oh my goodness. That's the great thing about retirement. Now I have time to read. So,
It's she has an audio book too where she reads it to you. Which is
that would be so
I
great.
may have to get that.
Those are great for road trips.
And
I always love hearing the author.
yeah.
I mean, I'm going through Obama's magnum opus right now, which is like he reads it and it's like 22 hours long.
But that would be so fun to hear him.
It is,
that. Yeah.
but it's going to take you about 2 years to get through it, I think.
Yeah. You need a retreat or something to go and listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff out there. Well, we're drawing close to our time. This has been delightful. Thank you, everyone. It's good to share ideas and energy and just to know that there are lots of people that care deeply about the same things. And I think more than ever, community like this is going to be important this year. So as you are able, please come back. We'll be here every second. Is it the second Tuesday? Yeah, second Tuesday of the month. If you could come. If you can't, that's okay too. If you have ideas about things you want presentations about, we can try and line things up. I didn't find anybody about COP29, Susan. So, because that's one thing we had talked about, but
Okay.
yeah. Okay, well, thank you. Any other final words before we say goodnight? Well, thank you all for being here. I'll send some
You're
links
great.
tomorrow. Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Good night.
Thanks, Noni.
Thanks.